Hey everybody, have you ever spent hours trying to create a specific tool for a specific purpose, only to realize that later you could have created a more functional part in less time if you'd only had the foresight to see what was coming? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you the #1 tool, in my opinion, for creating functional, reliable parts on your first try. And hey, if this is your first time on my channel, I'm all about inspiring creativity in spare time, as well as a whole bunch of other maker-related stuff. So if that interests you, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell so you don't miss anything. And without further ado, let's jump into the video. Alright, so I know it might not sound like a whole lot, but this great tool is a design notebook. Now, I've had this one for a little bit, and you can see it's gone through a lot of abuse through the time I've used it, but it really helps. Now, a design notebook allows you to have clear goals and get where you're going faster. When you start by writing things down inside the notebook, you can see where you want to go and know what you want to accomplish before you even start moving into the actual developing of your part, your product. This is especially prominent when you're working with CAD softwares like 3D printing, where you can often get bogged down when you're designing in a software because you don't have as much freedom as when you're just simply using pen and paper, because you're limited by the tools and the knowledge that you currently have of that software. But when you design in a notebook, it allows you to really get what you want just how you want it, and then you can work from there instead of starting simple and then working and slowly getting more complex, where then parts can interfere with each other and it isn't quite as cohesive. Another great thing about design notebooks is that you can freely let your brain flow. This is a common thing when you're trying to come up with like creative writing themes, where you just write out all the ideas that come to your brain. The same thing can work when you are working with real functional parts. If you just throw down all your ideas as fast as you can really get a full view of all the options, and then maybe even leave it and sit on your ideas for a while, and then come back later when you have new ideas, and you can keep them all collected in a notebook, and they don't have to be refined, but it can really help get a full picture of all the possibilities you can take on a project. Alright, so all of that was basically about coming up with clear goals and really getting a full view of what you want to accomplish. But there are also a few other perks to using a notebook for your designs. A huge one is that you can travel with it super easily. You can even use smaller notebooks or even notepads, which I have used in the past, to keep your ideas when you're traveling or moving around. You can just chuck it in your backpack, and then when that idea hits you, which is usually not when you're trying to think of it, you can just write it down and keep it for later when you're ready to move into actually creating something. Lastly, it's all about communication when you're working with a team. So when you have a notebook, before moving in to doing something difficult, you can write down ideas and share them with other people in a notebook, and then quickly make edits to them through other people's ideas and share them about just on paper, where there's not a whole lot of defined areas and constraints to the ideas that come with having a more defined model. So this is a big thing on my robotics team. We try to avoid sometimes coming up with a defined model for what we're trying to make before even really knowing what we're trying to do. So you have to stay with an open mindset, and having pen and paper really helps that. Lastly, one bonus thing is that often when I'm trying to make something, at least, it's hard to get into what I might call the maker mindset, where you really come up with problem-solving ideas and you're just kind of stuck and want to watch YouTube videos. So having a notebook can really let you loose and slowly bring you into the maker mindset before you try to sit down and do something. Now, before jumping into the conclusion, I want to share a few tips about using a design notebook. So my most prominent one might be actually to design in pen. Pencil is good, but when you use pen, you cannot erase, and that really keeps you flowing. Another one would be to just don't worry about saving space. That's a really big thing for me. I like to save space. And so you just go all over the place. And then a third is add notes to your creations. So I've got notes here, 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 that are describing exactly what's happening. Because a disadvantage that comes to the limited constraints, so like fewer constraints, is that you can't really always tell what's going on. So leave some notes in your notebook. So overall, no matter where you're working, whether it's with paper and cardboard, or metal and wood, or CAD software with 3D printing or CNC, having a design notebook will consistently improve the quality and time usage of your creative endeavors. So you should definitely find a way to get a notebook. I'll link a few from Amazon in the description that I think look nice. Mine here is a nice large size book, which is really good for keeping your whole idea on one page. So I'll just run a label across the top and then come up with a bunch of designs regarding that. Often I don't fill an entire page, but that leaves room for me to come back later if I don't actually end up going through with that project and adding more in. So you probably already have a notebook, but yeah, like I said, big is good, and definitely no lines unless you really enjoy writing captions next to your designs, and you'll probably be able to find one at a local store, and I'll chuck some links in the description as well. Question of the day. So, what is your thought process and planning sequence when you go into starting to create a new project? Leave your answer in the comments below and I will try to reply to it. That question will also be pinned in the top comment. So that's all for today, folks. As always, I'm Eli Tennant, this is Make Your Brain, and I'll see you next time.
This is really good. Oh, am I recording?